Hello, Miles. How you doing? Got your work up here, and I got your writing up, and I'm interested in your writing for a couple of reasons. I just want to go over this really quick. So I think this is smart. You're saying that you're working with layouts, and you've mentioned that you're sketching, and you're working with layouts via sketching, and that's good. That's really good to hear that you're working your spatial relations and your um, compositional attributes down on sketch paper as opposed to jumping on a computer and moving form around. I think that's a refreshing thing to hear, especially from young designers. A lot of designers typically today tend to jump right on the computer, skipping the sketch stage. And obviously you're understanding and recognizing the importance of that sketch stage. So kudos there. All right, so you're talking about, uh, let's look at the first work. And this is obviously it's not very developed. I mean, you got a lot of work to do, but I would go ahead and say there's a couple of things here. Now I know that you're just starting these out, but this doesn't look like a brush, number one. And this is really difficult to tell what this is exactly. The contour line drawings themselves are great. They're very good, very good. You're showing outstanding control with your pen tool and your paths and your anchor points and your corner points. So great job there. Right now we look at this illustration or these three illustrations and we look and we say, okay, what is different? Because each one seems to be different. Why are they different? Well, they're different because each one is introducing, or I should say, the first one is set, and then each one has subsequently introduced some new visual element that's not like in the other illustrations. For example, here you've got these triangles and everything else has these curvilinear gorgeous lines, and then all of a sudden you've introduced these jagged triangles, and that's fine. I understand that you're showing that this is breaking. That's fine, but these are visually really super heavy compared to the contour lines of the rest of your drawings. Okay, so is this right here. This is just like a big blocky bulky thing compared to the really delicate and just perfect curvilinear organizational structure of the drill and the lines of the toilet. Okay, so this seems a little primitive comparatively. Also, if you take a look at the stroke, the relationship of the stroke to the entire illustration, you can see that the stroke on this illustration is thicker than the strokes on these illustrations. So these are some things that you want to look for in consistency. In this illustration here of the toilet, you've introduced something new, and it's this technique right here. We haven't seen it before. It's not here, so it's something new. So it's creating a certain amount of visual tension. I think that's pretty intuitive. So I would rethink those visual elements to try to keep all of the visual elements that comprise your illustrations, to keep them very, very similar. We could even say that this piece right here is much more complex than the other contour drawings. And I say that because you've added all of this little detail here. You've added this detail, little buttons down here, buttons here, all this detail here. Whereas these don't have that same kind of detail. So this could technically be simplified. The drill, the first thing I look at, now I know you're just putting things together, but why is this so long? Shouldn't that just be a regular drill? I'm sure you're going to get there. I'm just kind of thinking out loud on that one. Okay, so I understand that this is very much a work in progress, as is this. So the one thing I do want to mention is everything's making sense. I think everything is making pretty good sense. There's a couple of things I would want to mention here is that think about the size of the money. I know a lot of contemporary currency design. They're designing dollar denominations in different sizes, and they're doing so for a couple of reasons. They would all fit in your wallet. Maybe some are longer than others. And, well, I should say each subsequent denomination is longer and wider than its predecessor. Okay, so that way you can actually feel your money, and you don't have to take your hand. You actually look at your money to kind of feel to see what the bills are. That's the reasoning behind that, along with, well, the major reasoning behind that is for accessibility for those who are sight impaired, so that you can actually feel the bills. Right now, you think of a blind person got their change in the United States, and how would they know what the bills were? You see, that's why the reasoning behind that. So that's something I would think about. Something else I wanted to mention in your writing going with a portrait format, I want you to get used to saying vertical or horizontal, because in design we don't refer to layout orientation as portrait and landscape. That's something that I don't know where that came from, like snapshots or something, but in design it's vertical and horizontal orientation. So you're talking about going with a vertical orientation. And yeah, that's the way. And I'm sorry, you're saying a horizontal orientation because that's the way we put our money in our wallet. I mean, that makes sense, but it doesn't really matter because you don't look at your money in your wallet. So you could have a vertical orientation on a horizontal bill and it's still, you see what I'm saying? So that's food for thought. Everything else is making really good sense. And I know like I said, I know it's a work in progress, so I'm going to leave that alone. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything else moving forward, please let me know. All right, good job. Thank you very much.